the people over the phone, you know?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the cons. So I'm in the acquisitions part of the business, and what I'm seeing is the people that are in their own markets, they understand their market like really well. They've mastered their market. And if I get a lead, even in like Dallas, I don't really know Dallas that well. I know it's hot, but I don't know that like that street, that area. Like if you gave me a lead in West Valley, I'd say, oh, in Salt Lake, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know where that is. That's a freaking deal. I know Jim. Me and Jim are tight. I think he'd want it.
You know general ideas of prices in your area versus like Dallas. Like someone wants a house, someone wants to sell their house at this price in this area. Like it doesn't mean anything.
So the con is not being 100%, knowing the area.
Yeah.
Like wherever you get the lead, you're like unsure. So when you do nationwide and virtual, you're like kind of have to just get it at a freaking great deal, or you're not sure. Like you can run comps, you can run PropStream, Zillow, you can do all the comps, but like you're never really 100% sure. Maybe if you make some calls, but then that's like different. You're taking time versus if you knew, right? You haven't mastered the market. We're talking to Jerry Norton today, and he says he even, he doesn't mind doing virtual for a couple markets that you've mastered. Like I think he's from Detroit, and he's in Puerto Rico, and he's lived all over, but he's done deals there, so he knows the area like the back of his hand because he's done tons of deals there. Area,
right?
Yeah, so that's one of the cons for acquisitions is you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the cons seem like they're way more than the pros for nationwide.
Yeah, and we're actually,
I guess it's like the magnitude of the pro or the con, right? Like how.
Yeah, like we're actually going to Sean Terry's mastermind, and we joined his mastermind because he is nationwide. So we're gonna kind of talk.
He does really well at it, right?
He does really well at it. So we're gonna talk to him more about it because it's possible that we're not perfect at it. We've been in it for a year, and we make money and we do deals, but like maybe there's a couple things we could tweak. But let's keep talking about the cons. So the con is not knowing the area. Con is not building amazing rapport with the seller as you could if you were in person, because that's just how it is. People don't really know who you are. I think I build amazing rapport on the phone. I even jump on Zoom calls, and people trust me. But not.
Let's just talk about the numbers, right?
Okay.
So we just talked to another one of our mentors who is just in like local markets.
You'd call him one of our mentors? Yeah, he's tight.
Yeah, he's awesome. And, he's helped us out a lot. So, that's why I call him a mentor. But he's in a couple markets, right? Like, they're market by market, right?
Yeah, they only do in person.
Like, he started out in one market, grew to another market. So they do all their stuff in person. So their leads, they close 1 out of 8 leads.
1 out of 8.
1 out of 8 leads.
That's unreal.
That's incredible. Right now, we close 1 out of 90.
1 out of
nationwide.
90. Yeah. That's
so
true.
We're doing all that work with 90 leads to get a deal. He does all that little amount of work. He does go on the appointments, so there's some driving, but way less work to get a deal with 8 leads.
And you might say, hey, hold up, you guys suck. You could do 1 out of 90. And it's like, we don't suck, and necessarily it's just.
It's not far off the nationwide average, though.
Yeah, I mean, you might talk to somebody. Sean Terry told us he does 1 out of 60. And, if that's what he does, then he's obviously got a more dialed-in system. But 30 leads difference is that's not that big of a difference, right?
No, it's still a lot of work.
It's still a lot of work, like 1 out of 60 people. And the reason why is nationwide, you got to scrap like 50% of your leads.
Yeah.
Like you get areas that are outside of metros, no buyers.
There's just so many like issues. Like one of our biggest things we face is title issues, right?
Yeah, but is that because it's virtual or nationwide?
I think part of it is.
Why?
Like, I just think like if you're local to the title company, you have a relationship with the title company because you do deals with them over and over again.
But a lot of people
I think they help you push those through.
But a lot of people saw that by closing all their deals at one title company and getting that relationship nationwide.
Yeah, but that's been hard too because they don't care about they haven't like cared about us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just got to show them that you can get deals done, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing is like it's hard to get deals done. the deals that we've tried to close with them have had title issues that we can't get through.
And I guess another thing is the buyer usually wants to dictate the title company they close at because they're paying the closing costs and they want to feel comfortable with who they're working with. Like, have you ever had a buyer that's like, I want to close with my title company, and you're like, nah, you're closing with ours?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have one, so.
But do you think they'd have a problem with that, or probably not?
I think if you're serious about closing with yours, I think you could get them to do it, but we don't have one, so it's kind of like, sure.
Yeah. So anyway.
So I think, like, going back to the numbers, 1 out of 8, we close all. And by the way, like, so deals that come in, right? So contracts. Once you guys get a contract in acquisitions, you send it over to Dispo.
Right.
They close almost all their contracts locally, and when we did it here in Utah.
We closed all of our...
We closed almost... I can't think of any that we didn't close. There might have been one or two, but
okay,
we closed almost everything.
Right.
That we got under contract. Nationwide, we close 1 out of 8. So every 8 contracts, we close 1. 7 we have to scrap.
And that's because we couldn't find a buyer or title issues. And there's like at least 30% of the houses we put under contract nationwide have title issues. So you almost need like a savage...
We got over 100K at title and title issues that we're trying to figure out
right now.
Get closed.
Yeah. So, you know what? I personally believe nationwide works if you're willing to put in the money to get the leads. Like if you're willing to spend the 30 to 50 to 80 to 100,000 a month, then it's like, yeah, then you're going to have enough opportunities. You're going to get that low hanging fruit and the people that you can just push through. Because you know, if you talk to someone on the phone and they're not ready to make a decision right then, you got to nurture them. And that leaves, you know, the opportunity for someone else to come in. And
that just adds on to the work, right?
Right.
If you're nurturing 90 leads versus, you know, so you close 1 out of 8, you get nurture 7.
Yeah.
You close 1 out of 90, you nurture 89.
Those are his numbers, right? Like that's not everybody on this podcast.
I think we were close to that though.
But not everyone on this podcast is, or that does, you know, in their market is doing 1 out of 8.
Yeah,
that's freaking amazing.
That is great.
He said you said 1 out of 8 leads.
Yeah, let's say 1 out of 20 though.
I don't know if you're doing 1 out of 8 leads. I mean, that's what he's saying, but that's freaking amazing. Like, is that cold calling leads? Like, cold calling leads? You ain't closing 1 out of 8 cold calling leads.
All kinds of different leads. Texting, cold calling, Facebook, PPC.
I'm starting to think that's a little too good to be true, to be real. 1 out of 8. Texting leads? I mean, you send in...
I mean, it depends on what you count as a lead.
Well, I count a lead as anyone that comes through and said, yes, I want to sell.
I guess we need to clarify with him what he counts as lead. But when we did it back in the day, we were probably somewhere 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10 leads.
We didn't get that many leads.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to look at the numbers.
But let's say it was 1 out of 20.
Yeah,
still,
I mean, it's obviously better. But I just don't think it's that low. I mean, for us, if we went back into it.
Because, like, I'm not saying that everyone will hit 1 out of 8, but 1 out of 20 is still like significantly better than 1 out of 90.
Yeah, and by the way, he does go on every appointment, right? So that's 1 out of 8. Those 8 leads, I'm sure all of them had an appointment.
Yeah,
at least.
Well, and I think that's why he closes so many of the leads.
Yeah, it goes on appointments.
Because he's face to face.
So okay, so con is let's keep going. What have we already said? Con of nationwide.
Well, let's go back to it even further. So 1 out of 90, right? If you need 90 leads to get a deal, that means you got to do a lot. You got to get a lot more leads, right? We do 4 to 5 deals a month right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to get to 10, we need to like double our leads. So right now we're getting like 400 to 500 leads a month.
Right.
We need to go double to get like 1,000 leads.
Which isn't crazy. I mean, it's just a lot of work.
It's not crazy, but it's a lot of work, a lot of money.
A lot of calls.
Where like it sounds like he's spending like a couple thousand per deal because he closes so efficiently, right?
Yeah, I mean.
And that's what he said on the call today too.
That's amazing.
I mean, that's how he's like 7, 8, 9x in his money, right?
Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people have tried the nationwide model, and because they're not willing to spend as much as it really requires to get as many opportunities as you need to get deals, they go back to their markets. And I think you need less leads to be doing deals in your own market. So con takes more work, and you got to spend more. And that's not necessary on the spend more.
Yeah. Spend more seems like you would spend less, but we'll update you guys as we do more marketing here in Utah.
Yeah. So right now, what we're gonna do, what we're personally doing in our business.
Before we talk about what we're gonna do,
okay,
let's talk about local now. Pros and cons.
So cons of local are a lot of competition. I mean, you in the mailers, if you send out mailers, for example, every local wholesaler's got that list.
Depends on your market, right? But like if you're in a big market,
like Arizona,
like
right?
Phoenix or Salt Lake or Denver or LA or the Texas cities.
A lot of people go nationwide because they're tired. I mean, Sean Terry told us because the marketing was so expensive in Phoenix, he decided to go nationwide. That's what he said.
Yep. I think that's why a lot of people do it.
Yeah, because it's just too expensive.
That's why we did it.
That's why we did it. But it's starting to seem to me like we can do like a hybrid, right? Like we can go on appointments here when we get leads here. I mean, we just did a deal here in Utah. I didn't even go. I don't even think I didn't need to go. I got it done. But maybe if I would have gone, maybe I got a better deal. Who knows?
Yeah, or if we got, I mean, that's only like a few leads. We only get like a couple leads a month here.
Mm-hmm.
So if we got more leads, then you got to weigh like, okay, if I went to see more of the leads, would I close more of those deals?
Yeah. Well, are we still talking about the cons?
Yeah. I mean, we just started talking about cons, so
Well,
we
I
only
think
named
we
the
went
one,
over.
right? Like, could be more expensive to get a deal here.
More expensive? Okay.
So that's a possibility. But
More expensive to get, you got to drive everywhere.
Driving on appointments takes time, could be a waste of time.
Maybe you got to dress up nice to go on your appointments to look professional. You know, what we dress up in is we like to be casual. So I show up like this to an appointment, they're probably not going to take me seriously.
Yeah. Maybe not, but I get what you're saying.
What is another con to be in your own market? I guess a con is, well, I mean, even if you went on a
I think
vacation.
the main con is competition.
Competition?
And at least for most markets, it's competition.
But aren't you getting that same competition when you go nationwide?
In big markets, probably.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in small markets, then you're probably not getting that much competition, but the leads, nobody wants those.
Yeah. Trying to think of any other cons.
Expensive, more competition. That's all I got. But I don't even see the competition as a thing. If you start going to every appointment and you believe you're the greatest,
Lock it up.
lock it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I think cons is just, you're just a little limited in geographical area, right?
You get less leads every month, of course.
Yeah.
So maybe
it's going to cost more per lead, probably.
Well, I mean, let's look at
Maybe not more per deal, but more per lead for sure.
Let's talk about our mentor, though. Like the mentor you were running his numbers. He says that $197 cost per lead, right, in those markets he's targeting on PPC.
Yeah.
And then it's 97 on Facebook. So it is more expensive. And then when we were doing the
But
Facebook,
that doesn't mean it costs more to get a deal, right? That means it costs more to get a lead. But if your closing ratio is so much better of like the number of leads it takes to get a deal, then that's what really actually matters too, right?
well, that's all that matters. It doesn't
Like
matter.
if one lead costs you $1,000, but you can close
one
lead versus
Well, shoot.
closing 90.
I think you're right, bro. I think you're right. Like 100%. So anyway, what this conversation is,
We've been chatting about this all day because we're trying to figure out what we want to do in our business, whether we want to stick to nationwide. I mean, we haven't marketed here in Utah for a long time.
we did a little bit of texting at the beginning of the year,
Yeah, but that's
and we got a deal.
yeah.
So anyway, the purpose of this podcast isn't for us to, talk about what we're going to do. This is mainly the pros and cons, but I guess we're figuring out what we should do as well. I think, again, if you have the money to spend nationwide and you got the infrastructure and the team and you have the acquisition guys and leads managers and the whole infrastructure to handle all those leads, then yeah, do nationwide. And if you're willing to spend 30 to 50 to 80 to 100,000, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, what our mentor told us today is like, hey, if you're gonna do nationwide, like it's not a bad model to do, but you need to have it like completely separate from your local markets model.
Yeah.
Right, like different salespeople, different dispo people. Like it's almost like it's another business because it's very different. Like it's very different approaches with conversations with sellers, with conversations with buyers. It's a lot different when you're not there.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we're going to do immediately to pivot to because it seems like getting in someone's face to face helps you get a deal, like your closing ratio go up. I think what we're going to do is do more Zoom calls, like try to see the people and see if that changes, because we're at one out of 90 right now, right? So if we can drop that down with some face-to-face interaction in the Zoom calls, then we'll see if my hypothesis is correct. Like we just need to get in people's faces. So we'll try.
I mean,
that
there's
out.
so many variables that go into like why someone will or won't do a deal with you, right?
I don't think we have so much a hard time. This is the hard time we have in acquisitions, is getting it at the right price, because they're talking to 5 other people. They're going to go with whoever can get them the best deal most of the time. And if they're talking to 5 people on the phone, maybe they don't really care so much about rapport. They're just looking
Problem
for.
is they're probably not talking to 5 people on the phone. They're probably talking to a couple people on the phone and a couple people in person.
Mm-hmm. And what do you
And so I think the people in person are going to win those deals
because they feel more comfortable. I mean, I have lost a couple deals.
Even if sometimes, like Jamie said, even if they pay less, they'll still win deals
because they feel like it's a real person.
They're comfortable. They have that relationship built.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I probably lose out on deals all the time. I'm trying to think of any specific. Of course, you lose out of deals.
I mean, I sit next to you, right? So I listen to a lot of your calls, and there's calls that seem like they're going great, right? Like it seems like you're doing really well, and then you just like kind of never hear back from them. I'm sure they went with someone else. You know what I mean?
Someone locked them up, like went there and was like, "Why are you dealing with someone on the phone? They don't know the market. Bump them."
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's pretty easy for us to decide nationwide. I think leads were cheaper nationwide too. Like it's only gone up, and maybe that's just because leads are going up. Period.
Yeah, maybe competition. Could be a lot of different reasons.
Like when we were doing the nationwide model, when we first started using Nick Perry's model, when a year and a half ago, leads were really like $45-$50 a lead, and then they eventually started.
Sometimes cheaper. There's a time where I swear we're getting them like $30 a lead when we first started.
And then you have to tweak them, right? Unless you want a bunch of crap. And once you start tweaking and getting better areas, it's like $100 a lead, and then it's like, well, shoot, now this is like really expensive. So we'll talk to Sean Terry again, but I mean, I don't.
So we're gonna do a hybrid, I think.
Yeah, like you talking.
Do some nationwide still, but still and then start marketing more here in Utah. And
do you think
we want to dominate this market?
So let me ask you. So let's talk about another con: is dispoing your deal, right? If you're
nationwide, right?
Huh?
Nationwide.
Yeah, nationwide dispoing your deal. That's in your own market. It's easier.
Yeah, way easier.
You go to the RIAs, you make relationships, you take it down with a hard money loan because you feel comfortable. You can keep it if you want, but if you're just talking strictly wholesaling, then you pretty much know who's actively buying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the nationwide con is like we don't know if we're not talking to enough buyers, right?
And the only way to really find out is talk to like maybe an agent and find out like what their opinion is.
Yeah,
like an expert in the area, and be like, hey, you guys are way off.
Yeah, and that just like goes to show you how much time needs to be put into it, right?
Yeah, like, and that's why, like, with Nationwide, if you get a deal at 50% of Zillow or Redfin or whatever, then yeah, it's like you don't have to do any freaking diving into it. You know, you got a deal. It's 50%. But the thing is, a lot of these people, I mean, I mean, I'm on the phones all day. How many people are okay with 50% of Zillow? I don't care
tough.
how I'm good at sales. I don't care how good you are at sales. You're not convincing someone to take 50% of Zillow. They're either okay with it, and but I just don't see anyone convincing like someone to do that.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, finding the right people.
So